Hello and welcome to True Crime Diary, in which we take a light-hearted look at a serious subject. Every 2 weeks we look back through the stories of true crime to find an event that took place on this week in history. I'm your host Mark DeCano, and with me as always are my friends Jed Lester.
Hello.
And Rue Turner.
Hello.
Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts if you can, and if you can't, you can always email us to stuff@truecrimediary.co.uk. And in appreciation of every 5-star review, we'll give you a shout out on a future episode. So the date we're looking at this week is the 7th of May, and in 1896, Dr. Henry Howard Holmes was executed for the murder of his business partner, Benjamin Pitzel. But the fraudster, polygamist, arsonist and killer was so notorious, he's even been suspected of being Jack the Ripper. And H.H. Holmes has gone down in history as America's first serial killer.
Right.
First serial killer? No, there's been no serial killings up till then.
Correct.
That's rubbish. That's absolute rubbish. But anyway,
Two things that make you kind of ask a very quick question is: America's first serial killer was thought to be Jack the Ripper in London.
Yeah.
So why was he, I would argue, tarred with a transatlantic brush?
Most of the people in the world were being accused of being Jack the Ripper at that time.
Right. Okay. Okay. So he was even accused of that.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know about you, but I like a late 19th century murder.
What's the specific appeal of the late 19th century?
It couldn't have been me. At either end of the knife, by the way.
Well, yeah. So H.H. Holmes was originally born Herman Webster Mudgett in 1861 in New Hampshire. He was married at 19 to a woman named Clara Lovering. Now, she was his first wife.
Yep.
And he married 2 other women later on without ever getting a divorce. So he's a polygamist.
Oh, sorry, that's why you said that. Yes, in his CV.
Yeah.
And in the introduction.
He studied medicine. He graduated in 1884 from the University of Michigan. And while he was in Michigan, Clara, his wife, moved back to New Hampshire. So they'd already separated.
Right.
He travelled a lot around the US and worked in lots of different places. He worked in New York and Philadelphia, and he's already setting himself up a nice little CV doing insurance scams and fraud. He was accused at one point of horse theft while in Texas.
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought you were going to say he was a travelling doctor.
Yeah.
Something, but anyway,
no, he just moved around. He worked in hospitals and pharmacies and things.
Right, okay. Yep. As a educated person, but he did a load of scams as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So he's travelling around being highly educated on the one hand, and
very fraudy on the other hand.
Yeah, basically.
Very fraudy.
Devious.
Yeah. In fact, he started his insurance fraud when he was in college still. He was using medical cadavers to defraud life insurance companies, even while he was in his education.
Gosh.
Several times, apparently.
So how would you do that? You would insure a dead person.
You take out a policy on a person who then
has died.
Turns up dead.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Because they were in a medical lab.
Yes, of course they were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
You'd assume those people are fairly anonymous at that point of death.
Yeah.
In order to be able to do that, though.
I don't know the detail of how 19th century life insurance fraud.
When was insurance invented? I bet it was a right load of waste of time back in whenever they invented it. I bet it was. I mean, it's pretty bad now, but imagine what it's back then. Yep, my wife's dead. Yep. Oh, really, sir? Yeah. As
there's clearly a lot of that
covered in blood. Yeah.
Insurance is invented in the Stone Age. As soon as someone had a thing,
yeah,
I said, "I tell you what, I've lost me rock."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's essentially gambling, though, isn't it? It's like, you like that rock, don't you? I bet you one day you'll lose that rock.
Yeah. And if I win,
yeah,
you pay me some gravel.
So right, okay. So he's been in various northeast cities.
All over.
Peddling his.
It's been
scams.
Texas. Yeah, all over Pennsylvania, Texas, all around.
Okay.
So in 1886, he moved to Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he starts using the name H.H. Holmes.
Oh, yes, of course, because he was called Herbert or something, wasn't he?
Herman Mudgett.
Sorry.
Hermy Mudgett. He got a job working in a pharmacy near Jackson Park in Chicago.
Yeah.
And around that time, he married his second wife, Martha Belknap.
Despite not having divorced his first wife.
But that's bigamy.
Yes, and it's big of me, too. It's big of all of us. Let's be big for a change.
Yeah, I mean, he later, apparently, he said he sued for divorce, but the likelihood is that Clara, his first wife, never even knew that she was going to be divorced. It didn't go through, so they were still married.
Do you sue for divorce?
Well, you file for divorce.
Oh, right, sorry. So you made a error of word usage then?
No, you could say that. It's still,
Can you?
Yeah.
Can you sue for divorce?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, fine. Don't know.
Basically, you're alleging something has taken place, and you want recompense, which is to be separated.
Okay, all right, fine. Let's not fall out over. Let's not
get a
divorce ourselves. Okay, so he's remarried then, right? Fine. They always get remarried, don't they?
Yeah. He's a bounder and a cad.
Yeah.
So in 1887, while he's working at his pharmacy, he bought a large plot of land opposite the drugstore on the other side of the road and starts building a 2-story building. So the plan is it's got shops on the ground floor and like apartments on the second floor.
Wow.
It also has a basement. So this is in 1887. Later on, he's going to expand it more, but this is how it starts building. The problem he has is that while he's building this place, is he doesn't pay people. He doesn't pay the architects. He doesn't pay the.
I was just about to ask, where did he get all the money to build all this? But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, and he fires some of the contractors. And brings in new contractors. So it's being built piecemeal by different people.
Yeah. Okay.
Who aren't properly getting paid. So
Yes.
obviously he's getting a building slowly built, a bit at a time.
So you could say, "Can you do this?" And then you could allege, "Oh, that's not good enough. You're fired." And it was probably perfectly fine. Then you bring in someone else to do the same. Then you could get a building built for free. But I'm assuming he came a cropper. But
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, he ended up having to pay. He did get sued, so he did have to pay. Some of the people, but he obviously got quite a lot out of all these contractors he was firing or who walked off the job.
by the way, Rook, can you hear us? Oh right, fine. You're just listening.
Well, no, I'm just being a polite conversationalist and waiting
It's
for
fine.
gaps. But there aren't any.
It's fine. Butt in. I don't know what I'm talking about. We're talking about
buildings.
A man building a building
Building a house, yeah.
for free.
In fact, one of his creditors, a man named John de Bruhl, he died in 1891. Now, interestingly, he died in the drugstore.
Opposite.
Where in the drugstore where Holmes was working, and Holmes was witness to him basically dropping dead in the shop.
Yeah, right. Is that like?
I'd say you would if you killed someone.
Yeah, it's not known really whether Holmes had anything to do with it. But in view of what we know of Holmes, it's quite possible that he had a hand in it.
That's another way of getting your. So hang on, who was this? The guy who died? Did he help build his house?
It was an investor, yeah. So Holmes owed him money. Yeah.
Get rid of him.
Yeah. You out.
You out.
And the following year, 1892, he starts putting on a third floor. So this house is getting even bigger, this building.
Yeah.
There's a third floor. Now, he's intending that it's going to be a hotel because the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, or what was probably better known as the Chicago World's Fair, is about to take place the following year, 1893. And so the plan was he's going to have these extra rooms as hotel rooms or apartments.
Okay. Yeah.
But this house is very, very interesting. Let me tell you about this house. The ground floor has got like retail spaces, including the pharmacy that he's set up.
Yep.
The third floor is partially constructed. It's got hotel rooms. The second floor, though, is bizarre.
The downstairs is open to anybody, even cops. But the upstairs is private.
Okay. It's got maze of corridors and stairways. It's got 51 doorways that lead to brick walls. It's allegedly got like 100 rooms, but with no windows.
Right.
Well, I suppose if a new set of builders comes in every fortnight, it's quite likely to end up like that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like the Winchester House, where just like you keep building a thing, and then you build a stairway to a room, and then you brick up the room and move it, and change it.
Yeah.
So 51 doors, meaning actual doors that you open, and there's a wall there.
There's a wall there, yeah.
I mean, I can understand 2 doors.
Can you?
51.
How many doors have you got in your house that open up onto a wall?
It's a brick wall.
If it's that kind of higgledy design and craftsmanship.
Don't just say higgledy and then move on without saying higgledy.
Higgledy design. Higgledy-piggledy. Yeah, I suppose you're right. Piggledy. You can't just say piggledy.
You can't leave that hanging in the air.
Piggledy. Yeah, you're right. Okay. So what with all this flim-flam design? Hey.
The design was very much higgledy, as you say, piggledy.
51 doors that go nowhere.
51 doorways that go nowhere.
Brilliant.
Yeah, corridors, stairways that go nowhere, maze of corridors.
There's a nice, cozy little place you got here, sir. Crazy, but cozy. Yay!
But more sinister, there was at least one room that was completely airtight.
I knew you were going to say that. Yep.
And it had gas pipes feeding into it.
Oh, God.
So basically it was a gas chamber.
Oh, really?
At least one.
And the gas is so terrifically lifting that it lifts you right off the ground like a balloon.
There were torture rooms set up in there.
This is the on your left is the torture room. Oh, sorry, that's a brick wall.
That's a brick wall. Yeah, it's one of these doors.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah. Right. Okay.
There's chutes that lead down past the retail units to the basement. Large.
A slide kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
And then down in the basement, there's acid vats, quicklime pits, and a crematorium.
Right.
So this house is purpose-built.
Are these everyday items in the old Chicago Midwest?
Well, one assumes everyone needs a personal crematorium in their basement.
And acid bars,
acid vats,
torture room.
Yeah, because when your close relative living in your house dies, you want options.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you want.
Well, he's already had a customer dying in front of him in the pharmacy. He doesn't want that happening again.
Somehow.
Well, exactly. It's just being prepared, that's all. As well as the furnaces and the quicklime pits, etc. In the basement, there was also like surgical tables and things.
Oh, God.
There was like medical tools and everything. This was all discovered in 1894 after the arrest.
Right, good.
Yeah, the police walked in on him doing.
Yep.
Or as we know, the police would have walked in, had a good look round and saw nothing suspicious.
Yeah.
Came back 3 months later.
Yeah, they visited 4 times, and on the 4th attempt, they found an odd smell.
Yep.
So basically, yes, torture rooms and gas chambers on the 2nd floor, surgical tables downstairs for dissection and what have you, and then incineration. So he'd set himself up an industrial death house.
Cool, so it's like a hotel for monsters?
Yes, exactly. A hotel for monsters. Way to sum it up.
Yeah. I mean, on the basis that his profession and education was medical, I mean, obviously I don't know, but I'm assuming he could explain quite a lot of the rooms away as, I don't mean the gas room, but the medical table and the, could be explained away as, oh, this is my whatever amputation area.
Yeah, in the basement of my home rather than in a hospital.
Because he works there as well, and that's the pharmacy, and that's the drugstore, blah blah blah, of where he works. But
I think even the most multi-skilled pharmacist should be conducting
I don't
surgery.
know why I'm trying to defend his setup.
I think it was a little bit questionable.
Okay, all right, fine.
I mean, one of the things that might assuage any concerns is the fact that Holmes also made another sideline, because he was quite the entrepreneur, selling skeletons for medical study. So I wonder where he got them from.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
All you have to do is tell me what it's worth to you. What's a person worth to
No. What's one worth to you?
We're selling skeletons. Yeah, of course he did.
Oh yeah, I got a pharmacy. I have medical supplies. Why wouldn't I have human bones lying around?
Skeletons. Get your skeletons. Yeah. Of course he did.
Yeah, why not?
By the way, all that information that you've just told us, was that subsequently found out after he'd done a load of murders? Or is this like people knew about this?
No,
already.
And still booked hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Is that an ice cream van?
Yeah.
Yes. You can keep that in.
One bit that would be useful to clarify for me, and at least anyway, is are we using US or UK floor numbering? Because when you say on the first floor and the second floor,
what's the difference?
Because in the US, the first floor is the ground floor.
Well, what I did there is I surreptitiously put in. I said the ground floor, and then I said the second floor and the third floor. So I'm actually mixing. Yes. I'm mixing my
nomenclature
for the purposes of transatlantic recognition and understanding. Yeah. I said the ground floor and then the second and third. It's actually for the US listeners, floors 1, 2, and 3, and for UK listeners, it's ground first and second.
He had a lift on the ground floor, but on the first floor he had an elevator. By the way, of all the things that you've just described, torture room, gas room, medical chopping up room, Rue says, can I just ask about the ground floor?
What level nomenclature are we using?
Can I just check the levels of the unit of measurement of room height?
Yeah, it's important to be specific about these details.
51 blocked up.
I have no
doors.
issues with his business.
Load of doors blocked up, hundreds of rooms. Sorry, can I just check the...
His architecture and business is none of my business.
What he does with bodies, it's got nothing to do with me.
Yeah, we just need to understand the building, not what happened within.
Okay, we've got it. We know what we're talking about now.
Yeah, that's made it all the clearer.
Yeah.
And not only did he have a pharmacy on that ground floor, but also a chemist.
And a drugstore.
Yeah. Oh, no.
And an apothecary. That's all the rooms filled. Oh, dear.
I was just thinking, this house is a kind of macabre Sagrada Familia.
Yes.
You know, the church in Barcelona.
Barcelona.
That's also quite higgledy.
And furthermore, higgledy.
One might say it's a hodgepodge.
That also took 300 years to build, though, didn't it?
It's still being built.
It's still being built.
Well, there you go then.
The technology to complete it hasn't been designed.
And also the design will never be completed. It's not intended to ever be finished.
And also it's noted for its many torture rooms. Which I believe is the attraction. Which is the attraction that the tourists have even to this day.
Well, I mentioned the Winchester House earlier. Are you familiar with the Winchester House?
No, I don't think I am.
Well, briefly, the Winchester House was built, or at least added onto, by the widow of the man who invented the Winchester rifle.
Oh, yeah.
Now, she claimed to be haunted by the ghosts of the people who'd been killed by his weapons. Yeah. And in order to appease them, she felt that she had to continually spend the money building more and more rooms and extensions on her house, and she constantly changed it. But of course, because they just kept building and building and building, there's stairways that lead nowhere, doors that go onto rooms that no longer exist, and it was a maze. You can visit it; it still exists.
Wow.
Where is it? In America?
California. San Jose.
San Jose, you say? I must admit, I don't know. How'd you get there?
Do you know the way? To San Jose?
That's no good. That was too slow.
Don't
Useless. Anyway, right.
I'll edit it shorter.
Right, okay. Do continue.
Right, I've completely lost where I was now. Okay,
You're on the ground floor.
I was on the ground floor. Thank you very much.
The house.
That's the house sorted out. So after the discovery of all these shenanigans, it was known colloquially as Holmes's murder castle.
Good enough description.
Yeah.
By the way, I would have called it a killing castle or a murder mansion, not a.
Yeah.
What did you say? Murder
castle.
That's rubbish.
It's not alliterative.
It needs to be a murder. Well, what do you reckon? Murder mansion.
Homes of horror.
Homes of horror. Exactly. God, I mean,
Holmes's horror house.
There's so many better names.
And if you reused the 3 H's as well.
Yeah.
The horror house of Holmes.
Yes, there you go. Oh, why didn't they?
Make sure you don't say anything controversial.
It's like, it's almost, they deserve to get murdered.
Oh dear.
Murder mansion. Massive massive house of death. Killing death villa.
No pun intended here, but it seems like a bit of overkill to build this massive factory of death and only do 9 people.
Yeah, right. You're questioning the size of the operation.
No, there are skinny men in East London that did more than that with no equipment at all.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, as I said, known. These are known.
Yeah, that's true. And also, let's face it, he was caught after a certain amount of killings.
It was early days.
He was probably planning a lot more. Yeah.
Just getting set up.
Just getting, He's ironing out the kinks, getting himself organised. There's bound to be teething trouble.
And also, if you sold skeletons, I mean, I'm assuming he didn't just sell 9 and then dissolve the business. He meaning various unaccounted for individuals.
Yes, yeah. Well, let's put it this way: if you assign every missing person, there would have been many thousands. If you assign the ones you actually know, you can put names to.
Yeah, okay.
You've got 9. The truth is going to be somewhere
in between.
Yeah.
Like 10.
Well, okay. Let's say this then. When he confessed to being a killer, he initially said that it was over 200.
Oh, okay.
But again, he then said that it was 27 people. Although a lot of those 27 people turned out to be alive. So I don't think you can really trust too much of anything that he said. He's not really known as a man of his word.
Man of his word, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so let me tell you about Holmes's encounter with a young man named Marion Hedgepeth.
A man?
A man.
Marion.
Marion.
Isn't that...
You're thinking of John Wayne Morrison.
I am, and I wasn't saying isn't that John Wayne, but isn't that John Wayne's first real name? Suggesting that it's a man's name. But yeah,
it's a manly man's name.
Is it?
Marion.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
From now on, I want you all to call me Loretta.
Marion Morrison was John Wayne. So we've got John Wayne as one Marion, and Marion number 2. Marion Hedgepeth was doing a 25-year sentence. And he was serving this sentence when Holmes was arrested and jailed on a charge of selling mortgaged goods in St. Louis, Missouri, in July of 1894. Now, while in that short time that he was in jail, Holmes apparently came up with a plan, an insurance scam, by taking out a policy on himself and faking his own death. Now, he promised to give Hedgepeth $500 if Hedgepeth could give him the name of a lawyer who he could trust, to come in on the scam and deal with the insurance claim.
Right, yeah.
That was the plan. Now, Hedgepeth did give him the name of an attorney in St. Louis, but the plan didn't work because the insurance company refused to pay out. So the plan didn't work, but of course, Holmes being Holmes didn't give $500 to Hedgepeth for the name of the lawyer.
Yep.
$500. what Holmes did then was he said, okay, well, the plan didn't work, but it's still a good plan. So he decided to use the same plan, but with someone else, and that someone else was named Benjamin Pitzel. Now, Benjamin Pitzel was someone that he'd become friends with. He was like a carpenter and a low-level criminal. And the idea was that they would fake Pitzel's death on a $10,000 life insurance policy that his wife would claim. Okay, so the idea was Pitzel would set himself up under a false identity. They would blow up the building. That was the plan, and then put in a cadaver.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And then claim that this man had been killed in the explosion.
Yep.
But of course, it was much easier for Holmes just to actually kill Pitzel.
Well, yeah, I suppose it.
Especially since he had a factory for the purpose.
Yeah, it's a bit much, but yeah, all right, fine.
Yeah. So what he did was basically he set him on fire.
Well, no, he just set him on fire.
Set him on fire. That's the way to do it.
Right. Okay.
And then this execution type deal.
Because that happens.
That happens. Yeah. Well, supposedly Holmes knocked Pitzel out with chloroform, but it was later it was said at the trial that the chloroform had been used after Pitzel was already dead.
Okay.
Which is weird. So basically, he's poured benzene on Pitzel and set him alight.
Yep.
In order to account for the chemical burns from the house.
Yep.
Or the building from the fire. He did get the money. There was an actual corpse of the man there.
Right.
And Holmes,
and it was in.
And yeah. So Holmes collected the insurance payout on behalf of his Pitzel's wife. But then he started chacking up with her.
Is he still married to the other woman?
Yeah, well, by this time he's married to a third woman.
Oh, okay.
Called Georgina Yoke. They get married in 1894.
Georgina
so
Yoke.
He's not. Yeah.
I bet he was walking on eggshells there.
Hey.
I wonder if they took wedding pictures, because that would have been one for the albumen.
Jesus. So Holmes now has got...
Are we up to 4?
4 wives.
He's got three wives and one someone else's wife that he's now hanging out with. Now he's asked...
By the way, does she know that he murdered her husband?
No.
Right.
She thinks that he's gone away, in inverted commas.
God. Because that's what happens. Yeah, he's gone away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Holmes is obviously... Because of all these scams and everything else he's able to do, he's clearly quite manipulative, and he's obviously charming and capable.
Okay.
Because everyone seems to believe everything he says without too much question.
Fine.
There's a big difference between gone away and gone up in flames.
Yeah. I believe that he told her that Mr. Pitzel was working in London, or hiding in London, one or the other.
It's fine, he's hiding in London. Oh, is he? Okay, fine.
Yeah, because she
seems fine.
She knew he was a petty criminal, He's gone away until the hue and cry dies down.
No, he hadn't just forgotten her birthday. And is now hiding in London.
But also, the likelihood is she knew that they'd gone in on this insurance scam together and obviously paid out.
Yep.
But she didn't know that he'd was
actually
dead. Yeah. And consequently, when Holmes said, "Oh, you should probably allow me to take care of some of your children," she says, "Yeah, fine."
Take care of.
He and 3 of the 5 young Pitzel children go travelling. They accompany him as he goes off to do more scams.
That's it. Yep, off you go.
Off you go. Why not?
On a scam holiday.
Yep.
On a scam holiday, yeah. Just to take some of the burden off her, 5 kids. I'll look after 3 of them. They can come with me on a road trip.
Yeah,
you just have the baby and the eldest. You'll be fine.
I like children.
For breakfast?
But what he does, actually, is that while he's in Toronto, out on one of his many trips, he forced the children, or 2 of the children at least, into a trunk, locked them inside, and he gassed them.
What?
In the trunk, yeah.
Why?
Because he didn't want them.
I don't know, I've always just loved to kill. I really enjoyed it.
No, he could have just left them at home. Why?
So, yeah.
How $10,000 back then?
Yes, 1894.
I would argue is quite a lot of money, and probably more than enough to live on. But the first thing he did was to go off on a series of more scams and
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like it's never enough, is it?
No, never enough.
How much is $10,000 back then? It's like a serious amount of money, surely. I mean, it's perfectly fine now. So
yeah,
$10,000 in 1894 is worth approximately $307,996.51.
It's quite interesting how he. I don't know how much time had passed, but you'd think, actually, do you know what? I'll have a sit down with my new shacked up partner, and as opposed to going off.
Is that such an inconceivable proposition?
Toronto. I don't think Toronto's that far away from. What are we talking about? Chicago. But even so, the notion of going off to do more scammage. Anyway, he was driven to scam, clearly.
Yeah. I mean, with guys like him, it's not like a means to an end. He doesn't get the money and then go, all right, great, that's enough. Exactly, I'll put my feet up. Scamming is what he does.
Well, also the
and killing, obviously.
hideous choice of going, actually, these two are... I don't need these two. In you get, which is horrendous, hell on earth.
Let's play hide and seek.
Yeah, quite.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, he's still got another child with him,
who he's presumably said that they've gone hiding to London or whatever.
Yeah. Everyone's hiding in London.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously he didn't need the other child either, so he went on.
He was in get two of them in the trunk.
Two in the trunk, and one in Indianapolis.
Right. Okay. Right.
Where he killed the young boy Howard with poison.
Right.
And then he chopped up the body and burned it in the fireplace.
Oh, God. Right. Delightful.
It's very hard to destroy bones in a fireplace. Even a child's bones, I would have thought.
Well, some of the bones and some teeth were later discovered in the house.
Hence,
which is how you know what happened.
Hence why they know. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there's a Philadelphia police detective who has been assigned to investigate Mr. Holmes, named Frank Geyer. And he has been following Holmes around. He's also being tracked by Pinkerton detectives out of Philadelphia. There's a warrant for horse theft in Texas. So he's been all over the place, as I say.
Mm-hmm.
So people are looking for him. Now, Geyer, he discovers the bodies of the Pitzel girls in the Toronto house.
Oh, blimey. Right, okay.
He tracked Holmes to Indianapolis, to the rented cottage where Holmes was, and he found the remains of the boy.
I found it.
Oh, right. So it's building up.
Yeah, exactly. In November, then, 1894, having been tracked by the Pinkertons and Geyer, they arrest Holmes in Boston, Massachusetts.
Good.
And he's held on the horse theft.
I've really gone off him.
Yeah.
He's held on the horse theft warrant?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, fine.
It's Turpin all over again.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Because these bodies have now been found and they're investigating that, the police move into the house in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And that's when they find all these doorways and things that
the massive
go nowhere.
All over the place house,
Yeah.
And all the torture chamber things.
Yeah. We don't know how much of it's been sensationalised by the press, but there's claims that there, as well as what I said, there's false walls and walls that rotate and things like that. So.
Yep.
So, October 1895, Holmes goes on trial for the murder of Benjamin Pitzel. But by that point, obviously, they've already established that he's killed the 3 missing children.
Yeah.
So, to the gallows he goes.
Yes.
Now, I mean, as I say, there's definitely some that he definitely killed some people. Mostly, it seems, for profit, even just from the skeletons. Now, bearing in mind that he claimed to have killed over 200 people, he confessed to 27 specific murders in Chicago and Indianapolis and Toronto. But, as I say, some of these were later found to be a lie. Partly it was because the newspaper run by William Randolph Hearst gave him $7,500 for the story. And basically he made everything up. He just told them a lot of nonsense.
I want you to spill your guts, tell us everything.
he said that he didn't do it. Then he said he killed 200 people. Then he said he killed 27 people. Then he said that he was possessed by the devil. You know, it was talking nonsense left, right, and centre.
By the way, why would you buy a skeleton?
To hang in the corner of the room,
like in a classroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd buy one.
Would you?
Yeah.
Or make your own.
Anatomy studies.
You've got no reason to do anatomy study. Well, for starters, it's just bones, isn't it? There's nothing else.
That about sums it up.
Meaning anatomy.
Bones, then muscle, then skin, then clothes.
Well, I know that, but you're not buying here's a bag of muscles, are you?
Underneath his clothes, it's just some bones.
Well, it is in my case.
Would you? You wouldn't buy a skeleton, would you?
Certainly a skull, yeah.
What kind
to
of
drink
quote?
Out of?
What kind of quote is that? Certainly a skull, yeah.
A number of times I've trawled eBay looking for one.
Anybody got a skull?
I'm sure that's not allowed. Like skulls on eBay.
Yeah, you have to be licensed to handle that kind of stuff. But
right, was it from a bloke in Chicago?
Holmes, he wrote an autobiography while he was in captivity called Holmes's Own Story.
There's definitely a better title for that.
Not a word of lie in it.
Yeah. Holmes under the hammer.
Yep. That one.
A Holmes Truth.
Holmes Truth.
Exactly.
Oh, God, too
there
easy.
You go.
House and Holmes.
Yeah, not as good.
Not as good.
How I Murdered Everyone.
My Best Killings.
In order. 200 to 1.
Yeah.
Presumably that was your classic just wrote it as opposed to being paid to write something. He just decided to...
Yeah, I don't know that it was ever actually released even.
And it'd be really tiny text from page edge to page edge all the way to...
It's written on the wall of his cell in his own shit.
Yeah, sure.
There's a quote in which he said, "I could not help the fact that I was a murderer, no more than the poet can help the inspiration to sing."
Right.
Yeah.
An artist of death.
Yeah. They could actually have not done the stuff in the same way that you choose not to sing a song, but yeah.
My need to engage in homicidal behavior on a massive scale cannot be corrected, but I have no other way to fulfill my needs.
Okay, so he goes to the gallows. And he was buried in an unmarked grave in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, good idea.
He did request to be buried under 10 feet rather than 6 feet and encased in concrete so that grave robbers wouldn't dissect his body.
Okay.
And actually that was agreed to. It was granted.
Good grief. Thought you were going to say, so they just laid him on the surface and walked away.
They just chucked him out of the window.
They just said, "Yeah, no, we'll definitely do
that. Yeah.
Love.
Yeah.
On your honour, we promise.
Yeah.
On your
Our word
honour.
is as good as yours, I promise you. So yeah, he was buried in Holy Cross Cemetery outside Philadelphia.
Yeah, right. Oh, okay.
In concrete.
Yeah.
So they know where he's buried, but it's unmarked.
Was the grave marked unknown right beside Arch Stanton?
Well, we now know where he's buried because in an interesting, more recent twist, his body was exhumed.
Oh, why?
To prove that he was in the grave, because apparently there were rumours that with his wealth and what have you, that he had paid authorities in one of his own insurance-style scams for him to escape.
Because that's what he did.
That's what he did.
Yeah. I bet those grave diggers were like, "Oh, you're joking. He's 10 foot down and encased in concrete. Do we have to exhume?"
It gets even more bizarre because there's two people out of the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology were digging in what was believed to be the gravesite, and they dug down and they found the coffin, and they opened the coffin, and it was empty.
Ooh.
But then, when they realised, because of these cemetery records, that he'd been buried at 10 feet, not 6 feet, there was another coffin underneath, encased in concrete.
Okay.
But the concrete had leached, clay it was buried in had leached together, so it hadn't set properly. So they could break into the coffin underneath after a few days.
Yep.
And inside they found some remains, which were DNA tested using relatives, and they were found to have been H.H. Holmes.
Right, okay.
It's interesting, the Holy Cross Cemetery, because on the body, the remains, there was a little metal cross with his name on it. So as well as they DNA tested, but it did say H.H. Holmes. But anyone could have written
He had a label.
So. He was labelled, yeah.
Very good.
So there.
You think they'd have labelled him with his actual name rather than one of his pseudonyms?
Yeah. Didn't.
Okay.
The building, the Murder Castle.
Oh, yeah.
Knocked down.
Henry Holmes' House of Horrors was still there until 1938 when it was finally torn down.
Wow.
It was there for a while, and it's now the site where it used to be is Englewood Post Office. So you can go and see that if you like.
Right.
We do have some popular culture.
I kind of feel as though there's quite a lot of it, you would assume, because it's pretty roller coaster, isn't it, in the annals of history?
Yeah, historically it's well known. It's one of those sort of things that hasn't been extensively fictionalised, but it's well, we're still aware of it over 100 years later. But I think American Gothic,
yes,
novel from 1974, that was a version of the story.
Okay.
There was, in 2003, Eric Larson wrote The Devil in the White City, which is a non-fiction, basically talked about Holmes. There's been a number of books about the story, like I say, not much fictionalised, but they were going to make a film of Devil in the White City, which they haven't done yet. Supposedly, Martin Scorsese was attached as executive producer along with Leonardo DiCaprio, who was going to play Holmes. It hasn't happened
But this
yet.
is years ago?
2 years ago.
Oh, sorry, right, okay.
The book was 2003, but they were going to make a movie
a
couple of years ago. It hasn't happened yet.
Right. Never know.
Yeah, I can't see DiCaprio as Holmes, to be perfectly honest.
Can you?
No, a Scorsese movie of it would be just awful.
Well, yeah.
There you have it. The reviews are in.
It's nothing against Scorsese.
I think it is.
I've got nothing against Scorsese. It would just be a.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I'm thinking of the movie. I think it's Bluebeard, the story of Landru, the serial killer of Paris, who had a similar setup. To be honest, it's more of like that. It's more of a sort of shadowy film noir kind of thing, rather than Scorsese and DiCaprio. Just to me sounds maybe a little bit too
Hollywood.
Yeah, a little bit too gangster rather than
it's
not sophisticated enough.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it won't be sophisticated enough or dark enough.
Yeah, it needs to be much more sort of macabre rather than overt.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully for your sake, it's not going to be filmed.
Well, yeah, it hasn't been so far.
Yeah.
So let's hope that never happens, right, Hollywood? Yeah.
Screw 'em.
There's only one person who could make that film worse than Scorsese could be.
Oh, go on.
Well,
Here we
that'd
go.
be Tarantino.
Of course. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Who would just make it just such a kind of cheesy cowboy style movie.
Right. I think it'd be good. The film adaptation of it.
It could
you could play to him being evil genius, or just play it really dark and he's horrible and.
Yeah, I think darker, more subtle and sinister is the way to go.
Hey, how about this? Coen Brothers.
Possible.
That'd be darker. John Turturro.
I was about to say John Turturro, yeah. John Turturro as H.H. Holmes. And George Clooney as Benjamin Pitzel. That's all for this time. If you want to know more about what we've discussed over the course of this episode, just Google it or something. You can see daily true crime updates on our Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. You can email us, or you can support the show with a PayPal donation. And links to all of those are on our website at truecrimediary.co.uk. Don't forget to send us a review or post one in your podcast service if you can, and all 5-star reviews will get a shout out on a future episode. Join us next time when we'll be similarly discussing and digressing on another event in true crime history. Until then, my thanks to Jed and Rue. My name's Mark, and we'll see you on the next date in our True Crime Diary.